What happens when you take an indie animator with no formal music training and have her compose for a small budget animated YouTube series? Well, just as you'd expect, you get 450 million views. What? Turns out when you direct your own show and compose its score alongside your musician cousin, you're given a wild creative freedom that elevates your soundtrack into an integral part of the story. Today we're breaking down the score to the Amazing Digital Circus, analyzing how 3 musical ideas each tie back into the narrative and set the soundtrack apart as a key storytelling device. So let's get started and jump right in with the intermission time. Now there's a lot happening in the intermission, both musically and visually, but there is one 8-second segment that tells us exactly who Cain is. How much power does he hold, and how does he treat the humans in the circus? There's one especially interesting musical pattern that we're going to be dissecting, so see if you can notice it on this first watch. So, did you catch it? So, what's really going on here? First, let's talk about the cinematography of this scene, because the visuals here are already part of the story. I mean, we've got Cain hitting this Jesus pose with the hundreds of all-seeing eyes surrounding him. There is literally a spotlight on the guy. No other character is going to be getting this kind of visual treatment. So what does that tell you? Oh, this is the guy to pay attention to. This is the guy in charge.
And since when were you in charge?
I mean, the visual metaphor doesn't get more heavy-handed than that. That's not a bad thing. If anything, it's good, because this segment here is so short that we gotta pack that information pretty close together. We can also talk about the instrumentation going on. Now, so far we've been hearing this very, overwhelmingly bright piano. It's not exactly honky-tonk, but it's very, very playful. And it's just constant. We're going like this. With all the record scratches and the jazzy licks happening all the time, it's kind of overwhelming. It's just kind of synthetic. If everything is happy all the time, where are the stakes? And I mean, that's part of the circus, isn't it? But now for this segment, we're getting this really dramatic orchestra and choir, seemingly out of nowhere. Now the choir just kind of tells you, yes, we are somewhere new now. No more happy piano. No, no, no. I am the one to listen to. I am the one in charge. Choir is really, really good at getting to us emotionally as listeners. Why? Because it's human. We know the human voice. But Cain tries to replicate it in a way that comes off as very unconvincing and false. Why is that? Well, technically speaking, that's done because we just take a keyboard like the one I'm playing on and we change it from a piano sound to a choir sound. But more importantly, it's very effective narratively. We're used to that choir sound and it clicks for us very, very instantly. Why doesn't it here? Because it's fake. It's too perfect. There's no human error. There's no real human tone. It's synthetic. That's the idea. If you fed an AI all the data on a choir, it'll try to replicate it just as Cain does here. But a MIDI choir, that synthetic feel, you cannot replicate true human emotion like this. And that is the story of Cain's power dynamic within the circus. He's trying his absolute hardest both to please us while also asserting his dominance. So he uses this choir that we know to be very powerful. But there's still that unmistakable MIDI and synthetic feel that makes us wonder, is this really a guy worth listening to? Now for the actual chords, we start in D flat, A flat major 7. Now this next chord here starts our pattern. G7. Almost instinctively, you can tell where that wants to go. C, because G is the 5 of C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. Easy, right? Instead, we go another direction that adds a lot more tension to this. We're gonna go up. Oof. We could still go home, but we don't. Well, maybe we kinda do. Now, this is a 1-6 chord. Why does it have that sort of uncanny feel? Well, it's because we have all the elements of a C major chord here. We have all the elements of our home bass. But the left hand, the bass note, has gone up to the 3rd of the scale. Now, in theory, the 1-6 chord just means we're teasing the ending, but we're not actually going to get there. But you don't really need the theory to kind of just tell. So we say, okay, come on, Kane, just bring us home. And he says, okay. No, Kane, what? That's the root. It should sound good, but it doesn't. Ugh, where are we gonna go from here? Well, let's just try to make it a resolution. I mean, if G was the 5 to C, then let's make C the 5 now. And where is that gonna go? F. That's nice. Okay, Kane, you did it. We are now in F. Good? No. He says, another 5-7 chord. Why? Well, if G is the 5 to C, and C is the 5 to F, F is the 5 to E flat. Ah, yes, okay. This is good. Can we stay here, please? It's another 1-6. Again, that sense of incomplete. Just like we did before, we're gonna go down to the root and the left. But it's still... Oh, come on. It's another dominant 7th chord. Okay, so if G is the 5 to C.
This is called the circle of fifths, and we're literally going through half of them in this progression.
E flat. Okay. Yeah, this is good. Thank you, Mr. TT Jesus, for giving us this nice resolution. What the fuck? Yeah, so now we're here. We went back-to-back dominant 7th chords because, why not? Decides to tease us even more with this fuck-ass chord. I don't even know what this is. Fine, so if that's another dominant 7th chord, that means we're gonna resolve as E flat being the 5 again. Where is this gonna go? That's nice. That makes sense, right? No! A flat. 6. This is the pattern that we're talking about. We set up as dominant 7th chord, and then we resolve to the 1-6, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on. It's that endless loop. It's this kind of fake-out cadence that we get everywhere throughout the show, especially in these important musical sequences like this, that really hammer home the idea of this is gonna sound like we're going somewhere, but we never actually do, because Kane holds all the power. And it's almost like a subtle foreshadowing, because this progression so far has shown us what it's like being in the circus. He sets up an adventure, the humans don't like it. Okay, so we try something new. The humans don't like it. Okay, so we try something, and it keeps going. It's that endless pattern of it sounds like it's something real. You could even match these 1-6 chords to specific moments in the show. Like the entirety of episode 4, you could call it a 1-6 chord, because it's got that sense of familiarity. That's why they went to the fast food place, is because Kane literally asked, oh, is this normal? Is this what the humans like? Is this what you're used to?
Well, I don't know what's normal to you people. Let's have one where we all work at a fast food place. Is that normal?
Okay. But it's missing that key part of reality, which would be the bass note. It keeps foreshadowing this breaking point. And here in this progression, we have reached that breaking point. Where is this gonna go? Oh, that should sound familiar. That's our G7 from before. So what is G the 5 of? And there it is. That is where we end it, because Kane finally said, I have been doing my all to give you this sense of grounded and this sense of home. But if you don't want it, fine. I'll just take you back to where we started, in C. And that is where the rest of the intermission takes place. Now we're going to pivot away from chords and the actual notes being played and instead talk about instrumentation and the use of leitmotif. This theme, Somebody Real, we could basically call it the human theme of the show. It's played during those moments of connection between our characters, showing that they are more than just their archetypes, more than just these cartoon characters. The first time we hear this theme is in episode 2, where Pomni convinces Gamigu to leave with her and join the circus. The theme is used in similar moments of humanity, like in 3 between Pomni and Kinger, 4 between Gangle and Pomni, 6 between Kinger and Ragatha. Beyond the theme itself and the actual music being played, the genius of it lies in the instruments. Last time we talked about instrumentation, I argued how the MIDI choir used by Kane is very, very intentional and how it's supposed to sound like authority, but the human ear recognizes that it's not. This theme takes the claim further by using these lush and emotional strings that lead us to believe, oh, well, now it's not really the circus itself talking, it's the characters and the humanity in them. We're introduced to a brand new instrument that bridges that gap between human connection and the digital nature of the circus that we just can't seem to avoid. First, and perhaps the more obvious instrument, is the synth that is playing these very quick arpeggios. Now those add a certain depth to the moment and they give this sense of rising, but that's pretty standard for a big climactic moment like this. It still works really well, but there's still something else there. It's the theremin. What is a theremin? The theremin is an entirely digital instrument that can only make music with human hands. Why is this important? Well, it's because the theremin has this very human-like qualities to it. It can only play one note, and it sings them in such a way that makes it feel human, but again, you know that it's not. The theremin represents the relationship between our humans and what they're given in this fake digital world versus how they respond. We're telling the story through instruments that actually reflect the thought process and the motivations of our characters. The mechanical nature of the theremin doesn't stop the humans from making music with it, and that story should sound pretty familiar by now. Enough of that sappy shit, because now we're going back to Kane and his musical number in episode 8. Before we get to the lyrics, let's talk about the importance of this number in the context of the story. This is the first time we've seen our characters actively participate in a musical number, meaning Kane has taken even bigger steps to further separate them from reality. Musical numbers only happen in fiction, so by forcing our characters into a song and dance, you're effectively pushing them further into this superficial world. The only exception could maybe be the intermission, but that's more of a collection of past events rather than a number happening in real time. We also hear Pomni and Jack sing in 6, but that's not a full-fledged number like it is here. I mean, the only time you break into song in the real world is on a stage, but if your world is the stage, what do you call real? Now let's move on to the instrumentation. Last time, I promise. Through our examples, we've gone from purely digital instruments into a blend of digital and human through the theremin, and now we have finally landed on purely human instruments as Kane backs his song with real instruments played by a real orchestra. There's two possible theories going on here. The first theory is that the characters have now become accustomed to the synthetic sound of the fake instruments, and we, the audience, are being placed in their shoes by hearing them as real. I like this theory, but I interpret the instrumentation a bit differently here. Throughout the video, we've talked about how digital instruments just aren't convincing enough to the human ear. What I see happening is Kane realizing and finally doing something about it. The constant use of digital instruments only adds to the human's perception of the circus as being fake. So Kane backs his song with real music played by real musicians, which disorient the characters and give a sense of truth and authority to his lyrics. the greatest way the song lends to the narrative is through said lyrics. What I found most interesting though is how Kane frames the situation. Rather than reminding the characters how powerful he is, he instead reminds them how powerless they are against him. For example, these 3 lyrics happen back to back. Don't need to scream if you ain't got a mouth. Why bite the hand that feeds if it's the only hand you're getting? And it's time you see that this great marquee is the only place you're ever gonna be. Kane, being Kane, of course, does emphasize his own power throughout the song, but it sounds like he started to doubt his own authority and is trying to convince himself that he is in fact running the show. Lyrics like "I'm the host, I run the place," and "Kane, that is my name" are all known pieces of information, but Kane has been pushed so far that he feels compelled to state the obvious, as if speaking to himself rather than the humans. What's more, he curses in a subsequent lyric, which is especially powerful for 3 reasons. First, Kane replaces sung notes with direct speech, emphasizing his frustration while still making the word "goddamn" the highest pitched moment in the phrase. Second, the tempo slows after this line as the orchestra prepares for a new phrase, giving the moment some time to simmer as we realize, oh shit, something just happened. Something just broke. And now we arrive at our third and most important point. Kane doesn't curse. Since the pilot, we've seen Kane live by a no profanity rule he enforces onto the humans by censoring their every curse word. But here, not only does he break his own rule, he breaks the censor itself. With a single word, we watch as the paradoxical nature of the humans has finally shattered Kane, leaving him in a state of unchecked despair. This lyric, like the others we've discussed, is brief enough to keep the number rolling in its goofy Kane-like nature, while still revealing his greatest fear: failure. This soundtrack is so unbelievably dense, with all the care and attention to detail serving as testament for the fully realized potential of this amazing digital universe. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more overly analytical music videos in the future, please do like and subscribe and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm gonna go learn some of these songs on the piano now, so thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.